Could the 49ers really be looking to move on from Kyle Shanahan after this season? Well, John Lynch was a guest on KMBR. He addressed those rumors. We'll get to that. We'll give you some best bets for the Bears game on Sunday. Plus, as a thank you for 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to give away some Homage Niners gear today. It is going to be a fun show. Thanks for hopping aboard. We'll get to all of it on today's Gold Diggers podcast, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Friday. You know what that means. Mimosa Michelle is here. What's up, Michelle?
Mimosa Michelle, a little hungover, very, very hungry. And I didn't even get to put in my lunch order before we started, so I blame you.
I thought you were punching up the dominoes there. What happened?
Well, I was, and then you started it, and now I had to put in all my card information, and I don't have my card, so I'll just be starving for a lot longer. It's fine.
Big show today. John Lynch talked about Kyle Shanahan's future with the team. We're going to let you hear what he said on KNBR. We'll give you best bets for the Bears game. Of course, we're going to do some giveaway on the show because we hit 20,000 YouTube subscribers this week. So if you want a chance to win some Homage gear, here's what you got to do. You got to follow Homage on X. That's HOMAGE. Follow them on X. Leave a comment on this video why you subscribe, and I will pick the winners after the show, or maybe during the show. Maybe we could do during the show. And we're going to give away a couple T-shirts. They're offering us a T-shirt and a hoodie, a couple different things from Homage, which you should be able to pick if you win. Going to be a ton of fun, but we are so grateful to everybody for all your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Right off the bat, Michelle, Frank Tavares wants to know, how many drinks do you have today?
So I have 3. I have my mimosa. I have my Starbucks energy drink. And I have my water, of course.
And you want to order Domino's.
I mean, yeah, these are drinks and that's food. What are you talking about?
Oh, man. You are a beverage goblin. I absolutely love it. All right. Let's get to what John Lynch said on KNBR. There's been some talk. Mike Florio's been talking about, could the Bears call up the 49ers and try to get them to trade Kyle Shanahan? He needs a fresh start. Kyle Shanahan, some people want him fired. Well, John Lynch was on KNBR today, just a little while ago. Here's what he said.
I've found the whole discussion on Kyle and, some of the stuff rather comical. I mean, we have won 4 of the last 5 division championships. We've been in 2 Super Bowls. Look, the standard here is to win championships, and we've fallen short of that. I understand, but we have an excellent head coach, and the fact people are talking about stuff like that, I do find it comical. We're 100% behind Kyle and what he brings to our organization. And like I said, our focus is really on the Bears and doing everything we can. That's where Kyle's focus is, and that's where all our focus is.
Couple of things are comical about that, Michelle. One, I agree. The idea that he could be fired or traded after this season because they've had one down year in the last 5 is comical. But also it's comical because John Lynch can't fire Kyle Shanahan. John Lynch answers to Kyle Shanahan. There's only one person that can fire Kyle, and it's Jed York. So the whole thing is comical.
He's not going anywhere. If anything, I was listening to a podcast the other day. I think it was The Ringer. They're talking about which team should call up the 49ers and say, we will give you 2 first-round picks for Kyle Shanahan. If anything, you're not going to fire him. You would trade him because you'd be able to get a lot. I mean, just thinking about this team right here that they're playing, the Bears, how much would the Bears give up to have Kyle Shanahan be the next coach for Caleb Williams and make sure that he succeeds in the NFL? They would give up a ton. So he's not going anywhere, but if they were, he's not getting fired. If anything, it would be a trade. The 49ers can't be that stupid.
Well, the head coach does have to agree to the trade. So that's a little,
it's so rare for head coaching trades. That's a very, very small chance. I'm just saying It's even a smaller chance he gets fired.
And so then the question, this is the other part of it that I feel like people don't talk about. It's all right, so what would you want for Kyle Shanahan? And if someone was like, well, what if, if it was a 3rd round pick, would you do it? And some people would be like, no, he's worth more than that. It's yeah, exactly. Because he's good. So why would you? I mean, hell, who was it? John Gruden went for multiple first-round picks. And Kyle Shanahan's a hell of a lot more accomplished than John Gruden was when John Gruden got traded to the Bucs. So the whole thing, you just end up going in circles. But it's just funny that it was brought up. I mean, this is something that I feel like was started in the 49ers content creator community and the fan community. And then Florio started talking about it, and now the general manager is addressing it on the flagship radio station. It's crazy how this stuff just sort of grows out of nowhere.
And now, I mean, he's going to be hearing about this all season long until they start winning again, right? And we don't know if they're going to start winning again. The injuries are insane, how much they've piled on. Who knows if does Trent Williams even come back this year with the injury plus his personal really sad thing with his situation. And it's just, do they start winning games ever? Like, can they even Bears this week? So he's going to be hearing about this hot seat and firing speak all year long, but that's what you get when you lose games. That's every coach when he's losing games, he's on the hot seat. On the hot, like I put it in like quotes. He's not really on the hot seat, but the fan base is going to put you on the hot seat.
About the 49ers getting back to their winning ways, here's a little more from John Lynch.
You can't get your ass kicked a couple weeks in a row and not respond, and that's what I fully expect is that we come out with a response that's up to our standard and what we expect.
I hate that from John Lynch, only because of this. What are they waiting for? You weren't mad before the Bills game? You weren't mad before the Packers game? If you had this response that was like ready to go and like, here we come, why the hell did it take to now to deploy it? And that's the thing that I feel like this team, they started to acknowledge it. Kyle's acknowledged it a little bit. Last year we saw they started sniffing themselves and they lost games and they dug down deep and they found it, right? They came out and they started smashing people. This year, they faced adversity. They've tried to dig down deep, and it's just not there anymore. That's the difference. It's not there. They've already reached for that. They've already gotten mad. It still hasn't changed anything.
And it's just the fact that they're not healthy enough to find it. They don't have the pieces to find it. I mean, I would love to say they can go on a 5-game winning streak and finish 10-7. And in that case, they're likely in the playoffs, right? But I just don't see how they're going to do that with this many injuries. And it starts with Brock Purdy, right? How healthy is his shoulder? If they come out and they smoke the Bears, then maybe we can have a different discussion next week and maybe there is hope. But until we see them actually play a competent game, because these last 2 weeks have been embarrassing. Like, it's not like they haven't figured it out and they're losing close games. No, they didn't even look even close to on the same level as the Bills or the Packers. Like, those teams embarrass them. So until they can prove they can stay afloat with another NFL team, like, I can't have too much optimism.
I completely agree. Steph Sanchez of Bully Ball on Tuesdays here on the Gold Standard Network is watching, and she says they've been saying the same thing since before the bye. LOL, major copium. And she also says, wait, Michelle has a cardboard cutout of Brock. When did that happen?
It's a fat head. It's like that little sticker thingy, you know? Not little. It's life size.
It's huge.
Fat head, yeah. His head's cut off because either I'm super low on the thing or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it's just basically it's Brock. It's all the worst parts of Brock Purdy. It's Brock from the neck down.
There we go. I fixed it.
There you go. All right, everybody, keep the comments coming. If you want a chance to win the homage gear again, follow Homage on X. Leave a comment in the show why you like us, why you subscribed, and we'll pick out some winners here before the end of the show. So that was John Lynch on KNBR. Not exactly groundbreaking, but again, he did address the Kyle Shanahan rumors, so I thought we would mention it. It's funny, I talked with Barstool Big Cat this week about the Bears because he's a Bears fan. We previewed the matchup. The first thing he wanted to talk about, can we steal your head coach? Like, we're in this Niners bubble of we're mad at Kyle Shanahan and he sucks. Everybody outside is like, wait, I could get Kyle Shanahan to be my coach? I feel like that has to count for something.
I mean, absolutely. There's no one else you're going to bring in right now that would be a better coach than Kyle Shanahan. I know people will bring up Ben Johnson. You don't like, he's a good offensive play caller, just like Kyle Shanahan is a good offensive play caller, right? But you don't know how he would be as a head coach. You don't know if it would be a step up. You can't take that risk. Kyle Shanahan has brought this team to an NFC championship 3 straight years, right? Or 3 of the last 4 years.
4 of the last 5.
4 of the last 5. Like, it's a bad, unlucky year. Like, everything that could go against the 49ers this year went against them. It's not like this is a fully healthy team and they're sucking, even though, they have all the pieces and everything's going their way. Like, no, it started in the offseason, right? The injuries were starting to pile up. By the time we got to week 1, we thought, okay, maybe everyone's healthy. And then right away it was like, no, just kidding. Christian McCaffrey's not going to play for a really long time. Like, and then it just snowballed from there. And it's just an unlucky year. And sometimes you have those years.
Yeah, it's a season from hell, actually, is what one 49ers assistant head coach called it in an article that Mike Silver wrote in The Athletic. And we'll get to the best bets in the Bears game, I promise. But I did want to talk about this really quick because I thought it was fascinating. Mike Silver names in the article some big names that may not be with the 49ers next year. He says, in any scenario, money, age, and wear and tear will factor into some difficult roster decisions, and many of the organization's most celebrated players could be cut, traded, or allowed to leave via free agency. The 49ers' futures of George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk, Trent Williams, Javon Hargrave, Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward, and Talanoa Hufanga are very much in question. Now, I think most 49er fans would be okay with a lot of that. The name that scares everybody is Kittle. I do not know.
Trent.
If Trent, well, I think Trent would probably be a retirement rather than anything else. But Kittle is the one that they got to hold on to. He's the one that's still performing at a high level. The rest of them, goodbye. I'm totally fine with getting rid of everybody else on that list.
Yeah, I'd be more shocked if Deebo was on this team next year than if he wasn't, right? Like, Deebo has to go. Drake Greenlaw, they might be able to keep him on the cheaper end, right? Restructure his contract.
Well, he's a free agent after the year.
Okay, well, still re-sign him to a cheap contract, right? I would be fine with him staying, but yeah, I don't think most of these guys named here would actually make too big of a difference not having them. But the George Kittle and the Trent Williams obviously would be the top 2 that you very much want to be on this team, even if they are starting over with a new look. Those 2 are still the key parts of this offense, and you still want them to be here next year.
People don't like Mike Silver, but there are very few people that are as tied into the 49ers and specifically Kyle Shanahan. He has known Kyle Shanahan since Kyle was a teenager. Silver comes from Denver. Who was in Denver for a really long time? Mike Shanahan, Kyle's dad. Silver is tight with the Shanahan family. A lot of things he says come directly from Kyle. Now, I'm not saying this does, but I'm just saying the guy knows what he's talking about. So when you see that list of names here, I think you should consider that there's a distinct possibility that a lot of those are things he's hearing directly from the organization rather than just random speculation, which a lot of people like to couch it as. That's not how these things work. And I know it's scary to see some of the names on the list, but these are the changes that are going to have to be made. This is ultimately a good thing. You know how they say, like, a forest fire every once in a while is good for the forest because it allows it to regrow. Niners need a little bit of a forest fire.
They definitely need some new energy in this building, right? It can't just be the same old, same old. I do think, like, if this team was healthy this year, they'd still be a Super Bowl contender and we'd all be happy. There's obviously, we saw at the beginning of the year, there's still some issues with this team, with the red zone issues, with not having the best, game management at the end of games as well. But if they were healthy, it would have been a fine year. So I do think next year they will be okay, but that doesn't mean that you just go into it and say, we're just restarting like it's 2024. Like, no, you still need to work on slightly rebuilding while still being competitive, or else you're going to find yourself in a terrible situation down the road if you're not consistently like trying to just make this locker room better as well, because these guys it seems like they're just kind of burnt out with this team too.
I do think that that's part of it. They've gone through a lot of extra games, a lot of playoff games. They've played a long time. They've gone through, I mean, this season, emotionally, all the stuff off the field, they've been through the ringer a little bit. So, yeah, I completely agree with everything you're saying. I want to address this comment from King, who says, Statsy, weren't you the one saying that Kittle ain't going to be here? Remember, he posted about you saying crap, LOL, now you want him here. So a couple of things. I said that he wouldn't finish his contract with the 49ers. He had been banged up and he had not been producing. Since I have said that, he's been mostly healthy and he's brought his game up to a whole new level. He's been scoring touchdowns at a rate that he did not score touchdowns before this. So clearly I was wrong about him finishing his contract with the 49ers, but he's playing better than he was when I originally wrote that. And yes, Kittle did dunk on me, for those that remember that.
Maybe it took you saying it, get him some motivation. You're the reason.
That's right. I just solve problems. That's all I do over here. Okay. I'm just lighting a fire under 49ers players, but I love how people, you say something on Twitter and then you act like that take has to hold up for the rest of time. It's like, well, no, we have more information since then. If someone plays,
they get mad at you if you have take lock and they get mad at you if you change your mind. There's no winning.
Right. So yeah, look, and like I always say in the show, I'm never going to be 100% accurate on everything I say. That's unrealistic, and that's not my goal. I promise you 100% authenticity, not 100% accuracy. Everything I say is the truth. I don't say anything for clicks or anything like that. If you're good at this job, you shouldn't need to do that, quite frankly. And so I have no problem when I say I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't think George Kittle was going to finish his contract with the 49ers. He clearly is. They clearly want him here, and he's been kicking ass.
He's been the one bright spot of this team this year, and I'm happy he spoke up after last week's game, and he needs to get 10 targets, right? Like Brandon Ayuk's not out there. Deebo Samuel stinks. Like George Kittle should be getting 10 targets a game. He is so stinking good. And especially in that weather game last week, like they should have leaned on him because who's going to do it after the catch, even in the snow? And like, he would be so hard to tackle. They went into that with just a terrible game plan. And I don't even know if they made a game plan, honestly, that they just showed up and they just knew they were going to lose. That's what it felt like. But this week at home, against the Bears defense that sometimes can play really well and sometimes they can be beat up. They do have good corners. So lean on George Kittle over the middle. Lean on Isaac Guerendo. I don't care that Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason are out there. Isaac Guerendo can handle the bulk. Don't be giving Patrick Taylor or whoever else that they bring up a bunch of work. Let's see what Isaac Guerendo can do.
Aren't you desperate to see what Israel Abanikanda can do? Who they claimed off from the Jets. But we'll get to, I want to address your Isaac Guerendo thing. But first, if you want to go to the game, John Veen, YouTube channel member, says, anybody in the Bay Area want to go to the game? A friend bailed, so I have an extra ticket. Now, I don't know, John, how they can get in touch with you if they want to. But look, like I said, I'm here to solve problems. You want a ticket to the game? John has an extra ticket. I'm just trying to, people helping people. That's all we're trying to do here. Facilitate on the show. So hopefully somebody can get that ticket because why not? It's supposed to be a beautiful day. No rains. I think it's going to be in the 60s in the Bay Area on Sunday. We're not going to be playing in a blizzard like we were last week. So hopefully somebody can go. Andre says the fact that Kyle doesn't target his best players is a major problem. That's one stupid thing Kyle has always done. He can go into a game and totally ignore his best pass catcher. I do think that because they have so many weapons, he doesn't force feed anybody. And sometimes you need to force feed people. Like you're saying, Michelle, yeah, they should force feed Kittle every week because he's amazing. And force feed Guerendo. Don't go into a 2 running back system now, Kyle Shanahan, when you've been the workhorse guy forever. And now when you got a young kid with basically no tread on his tires, and now you're going to go to the 2 running back system, screw that. Give him 25 carries. Why not?
And don't give up on him if, the first 5 carries, it's not great, right? If he's getting a yard or 2, like keep letting him go because we know the speed, we know his burst, we know he can break one off. Like that could change the game right there. You could be struggling and then all of a sudden he could break off a 60-yard touchdown and that can completely flip the game. So Don't give up on him. Don't give up on the run game. Hopefully this defense doesn't get eaten alive by the Bears. Like that shouldn't happen, right? And their biggest concern has been the run game. They haven't been able to stop the run lately, and they're giving up so many rushing touchdowns. But DeAndre Swift hasn't been practicing yet this week. We'll see what happens today on Friday. I don't know if there's any news yet about DeAndre Swift, but he's dealing with a quad injury. Roschon Johnson, who would have been a scary guy around the goal line for them because he's a really good touchdown scorer, and that's where the 49ers have been struggling. He's in concussion protocol, and it doesn't seem like he's really moving through that protocol at all. It feels like he's not going to play. Very, very doubtful. And then you're left with like Travis Homer, and I think they just signed some other random guy. So they should not get beat up by the run. Like you can't get beat up by everybody. It's one thing to get beat up by James Cook and Josh Jacobs, but I don't think Travis Homer and whoever else they have, I think it's like Darkarian Evans or something. They should not be able to do anything against them.
Here's one thing I don't like. I don't like that the Bears fired their coach and the first team they play with the interim head coach is the Niners. Because how many times have we seen, Michelle, the interim head coach boost? Teams are so happy to get rid of the crap coach that they had that they come out refreshed, renewed. They come out with energy and fire, and they always play better in that first game. Jeff Saturday won his first game as an interim head coach when he was sitting around doing nothing, working at ESPN, and then he's coaching on the sidelines, and they won. So the Bears are going to get a little bit of a boost here.
They always do. I hate it. And it'll go right back to being bad again. But this is just what I'm saying. It's another unlucky thing for the 49ers. Like, what are the chances that they have to play this team right after firing their coach? Now, the 49ers are also in this situation where they've been embarrassed. Like, they should also have a chip on their shoulder, right? There's something they're playing for as well, and that's pride. This should not be an excuse for them. Like, oh, they have a coach. I will say the thing that worries me most is the way that the Bears have been losing games is also the way like the 49ers love to lose games, right? So the Bears have lost each of their last 6 games, but 4 of those 6 came down to the last play of the game, including each of their last 3 games came down to the last play, with the Packers winning on a blocked field goal against the Bears. The Bears had to kick a 46-yard field goal to win the game. It got blocked. And then the Vikings, they win it. They bring them to overtime. They win in overtime. And then the Lions game last week, they just decided not to use a timeout. I don't know. That was weird. and they ran 31 seconds off the clock for no apparent reason and lost that game when they could have won. So it's like they're making a lot of stupid mistakes at the end of the games, like the 49ers were in the beginning of the season. But now they have a new coach, right? So maybe they don't make these stupid mistakes, and they do end up pulling out a close game because they are keeping these games close is the scary thing.
And then the other part of it that might work in the 49ers' favor, and Kyle Shanahan kind of talked about this on KNBR yesterday, is like when you go from being a coordinator to a coach, there's things that you have to worry about during the game that you never had to worry about before. Part of it is calling timeout and managing the game and all that, dealing with media obligations during the game and halftime and all that stuff. Maybe some of that throws things off for Chicago, throws off their operation a little bit, and that could work in the 49ers' favor if you're trying to look at the positives of a guy being a head coach that's never been a head coach before. I don't know.
But also what's crazy is he's been promoted twice this year. He's like, this is a crazy year for Thomas Brown. He started this year as the offensive passing game coordinator. He already got promoted to OC because they fired their OC and Shane Waldron. So he got promoted before week 11 to OC. That's a whole new, a new role that you're playing during games. And now you're getting promoted again to head coach. Like, that's a lot for any person to like move up that much in this short of a span with what you have to deal with now in games. So we do say they definitely, like, the team is going to be hyped up, right, to play for a new coach. They hated Matt Eberflus. That was clear. But at the same time, this is a lot to put on a guy in Thomas Brown.
YOLO, yeet. Keep getting those promotions, man. Good for you.
Seriously. Hopefully he's getting paid for this.
Exactly. Here we go. Iconoclast says one scenario that hasn't been discussed really is Kittle requesting a trade this offseason. He's older, underutilized, and might see the reset coming. It's possible. Now, I know that George loves Kyle. He did sound a little frustrated after last week against the Bills, so maybe that's beginning to change. I don't know. I don't rule it out. Honestly, with this team, I don't rule out anything. I think that this offseason, I think, is going to be crazy. I think you're going to see changes. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. This team is never boring. maybe he does request a trade, Michelle.
Come to the Steelers, please. I would love George Kittle with the Steelers. But I will say, watching him on that receiver show, I feel like they're the type of people who are very happy where they're at, right? Him and his wife. Where does his family, like they were very family oriented. Was his family like living there in San Francisco? I'm confused, but wherever his family's at, I would see him wanting to stay if they're in San Francisco.
He was born in Wisconsin.
Oh gosh, he's going to be a Packer.
And of course, he went to Iowa. That would be just the ultimate poke in the eye. Not that the Packers need him. They have Croft, who's pretty good.
Kraft, yeah.
Kraft, sorry. For some reason, I can't remember which one it is. But anyway, nonetheless, we'll see what happens with the 49ers. And as Heineman on Twitch points out, he lives in Nashville now. He has that like compound in Nashville that he does.
Interesting.
Gary Frecking leaves a super sticker. Thank you very much, Gary. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the donations here from everybody. It is greatly appreciated. All right. Oh, Steve-O says, since Steph Sanchez did the schedule release video, weird stuff has happened. Don't blame Steph. That ain't right.
No, I said that they were going to go undefeated.
That's true. You did say that.
Gone downhill. And I am very sorry that I was the jinx.
Yeah, I think it's all your fault. I think we're pretty clear on that.
No, we know who to blame for this season. Who is it? Who is it, Stats? Who do we blame?
It's not Christian McCaffrey for being on the cover of Madden?
Brandon Staley.
Oh,
for being a loser, because he's always a loser, and he brought the losing culture to the 49ers.
He brought the chargering to the 49ers?
I'll say as soon as they hired him, I said, I don't feel confident about my take anymore about them going undefeated. There was no way this team was going to be good with Brandon Staley on their coaching staff.
Let me ask you this. If it does go down to a late game situation, we've seen the Niners blow it. We've seen the Bears blow it. Like you said, who do you have more faith in at the end of the game to step up and make a play?
In like which side, the Bears or the 49ers?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as Brock Purdy's out there and healthy, it's got to be the 49ers side, because Caleb Williams has a lot of fault in that 31-second runoff. Like that, I know Matt Eberflus is getting a lot of hate for that, but come on, Caleb, like what were you doing? So I do think the rookie quarterback versus the veteran, very smart guy in Brock Purdy, that I would go with the 49ers side.
I do have a little like PTSD because I'm thinking of that Bears game. Was it 2022 with Trey Lance? First game of the season. Yeah. Neither offense is doing anything. Justin Fields, a mobile, young quarterback, makes essentially one play by scrambling around and throwing the ball to Dante Pettis, and the 49ers lose the game. Like, I could kind of see the game going that way. Now, that game was a monsoon game, so there was, extenuating circumstances. But I do have that, like, trauma that's still fresh in my brain.
At this point, though, if you do not see this team winning, the next 5 games and making it to the playoffs, is this the point where you say, well, if they lose, they get better draft picks, right? Or are you just still holding out hope they can make the playoffs?
No, my playoff hopes are gone.
If your playoff hopes are gone, then you should honestly be hoping for a better draft pick.
You know what it is? I want to see my team win, man.
I know.
I don't want to be miserable for the next.
I've never been able to root for my team to lose, no matter if they're out or not.
The draft pick was going to be the draft pick. I mean, Lamar Jackson was like the last pick of the first round. Guys get picked first that stink. I mean, like
Hayden Hurst was picked by his own team before him.
Like, I'm not going to.
The Ravens took Hayden Hurst before Lamar Jackson. I feel like the Ravens get all this love for picking Lamar in the first. And it's like, dude, you took the terrible tight end before him. You also didn't know what you were doing.
They traded back into the first round to get Lamar, I believe.
Well, they didn't have to do that if they just didn't take Hayden Hurst.
I don't know why Hayden Hurst is out here catching strays, but okay.
He's actually a really good guy, but, not a great player.
All right. Well, before we get to our best bets for this week, I keep telling everybody how we have been killing it this year with the best bets. And last week was no exception. We weren't right on the Kittle anytime touchdown, but Bills over 25.5 points. Josh Allen anytime touchdown. Bills to score 4 touchdowns. Bills -7. And late in the show, Michelle, you took Ray Davis anytime touchdown at +550. He scored the first touchdown of the game. We have been killing it. Last week was no exception, and I think we should pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
Yeah, that Ray Davis one should be listed there. Come on.
I made the graphic beforehand, so sorry. But I wanted to mention it. I mentioned it. You deserve full credit for that.
Thank you. Well, at least we were on the right side there. We had to watch an embarrassing loss, but at least, what we said was correct.
Right. What do we always say, right? The money is still green. Even if you bet against your team, you get to keep the money. And frankly, I've made a lot of money the past couple of weeks betting against the 49ers. And I really don't intend to stop here unless they give me a reason to stop. And right now, I don't see a reason to stop.
So you're going to take the Bears plus 3.5?
Oh, I did. I have taken the Bears.
Okay.
Plus 3.5. This spread actually went up to 4 at one point. Now it's back down to Niners by 3.5. I'm taking the Bears and I'll take the points. I'm sorry. What have we seen from the 49ers that has shown you that anything will change, that the red zone issues will change, that the offense turning the ball over constantly will change, that the run defense will change? Like where are the signs?
But if they don't have a running back to run against the 49ers, right? If DeAndre Swift plays and he's healthy, yeah, he's going to have a good game, and it's not going to be fun to watch in that scenario. But if he can't play, then there's no run game. Caleb Williams is very, very inconsistent, right? Like he's been having to, both of these last two games they played where they kept it close, like they were getting blown out by both of these teams. Like they weren't doing anything in the first half, and then they come out in the second half and they're much better and they come back. But also it might be like the team gets relaxed, which I could see the 49ers doing as well if they go up. But I'm actually taking the 49ers to win this game, and I would take them to cover the 3.5 points.
Ooh, okay. I like it. Bold by you. The over-under for the game is 44. It suggests a relatively low-scoring game. If you do want to bet the game, please do it with BetUS. You can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit, all the way up to $2,000. Just use our code YouTube150. That's code YouTube150. You get 24/7 personalized service with BetUS 365 days a year. They do live wagering on all major games. Plus, you can get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. As far as I know, they're the only ones that do that. So thank you to them for sponsoring this video. And please choose BetUS. All right, Michelle, would you like the honors to take your best bet first?
No, you can go first. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I already told you I'm taking the Bears and the points. So I'm not going to even count that one as a best bet. I am also going to take the Niners under 23.5 points. The Bears defense has been really solid. They take the football away, which the 49ers offense this year has been brutal at giving away the football. 3 fumbles last week. Kyle Juszczyk is on the 1-yard line and can't hang on to the damn football. Brock Purdy's losing the ball when nobody even touches him. This has been a consistent problem in the entire Kyle Shanahan era. The only time it really stopped was once they got Christian McCaffrey. He's so damn good that basically all his touches prevented a lot of the turnovers. Well, he ain't there anymore, and they've been turning it over this year, even when he was there. So I'm going to take the Niners under 23.5 points.
Yeah, probably. I could see them scoring like exactly 23 is the issue. So it's going to be close, but I'm okay with that one. I like it. They don't have the rushing yards for Guerendo on BetUS, but if you can find rushing yards, I'm sure they're going to come up here soon or on a different whatever. But Guerendo, I actually think is going to have a really nice game. Like the Bears have allowed a lot of rushing yards as of late. Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones in 2 of the last 3 games against the Bears had fantastic games against them. And Guerendo, we've only seen him play more than 17 snaps in one game. It was that Cowboys game. He played 43 snaps. He had 14 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. He actually got 4 targets too, right? So it seemed like, okay, he's being trusted in the receiving game a little bit. 3 receptions, 17 yards. Like I do think his total yardage and his rushing yards and anytime touchdown too, but the anytime touchdown's pretty low for him. What's it?
Minus 143.
Yeah, first touchdown score plus 330. Yeah, they really like Vegas thinks Garendo's going to have a good game, is what they're saying. So I really like Garendo this week, and I think he's going to have over his rushing yardage whenever that does come up, and they have it up there.
Yeah, I was surprised that it's not up there because it's pretty like established. He's going to be.
Like I don't really understand. We know Mason and CMC are on IR, so what are we waiting for?
And it's not going to be Patrick Taylor, and it's not going to be Izzy Abanikanda, whose name I just really like to say. So I'm going to keep trying to shoehorn it into the show wherever possible. Okay, next one, Brock Purdy to throw one interception. Again, this team loves to turn the football over. Christian McCaffrey is not there. I think that's going to take away a lot of the checkdowns. We saw with Brock Purdy when Christian McCaffrey was not there, he was very hesitant to check the ball down to his running back. That means he's going to be throwing the ball deeper down the field, maybe forcing it into some tight windows. Again, this is a good Bears defense. They know how to take the ball away. They're top 5 in turnovers this year. So I'm going to take Brock Purdy to throw at least one interception. It's plus money. It's plus 108, which I always like. That means you bet $100, you win $108. Give me Brock to throw a pick.
It's probably going to happen. Yeah. Like,
there you go.
Probably. I'm going with George Kittle over 53.5 receiving yards at minus 117. Listen, I do think the squeaky wheel gets the cheese is like a real thing.
Hold on. The squeaky wheel gets the cheese?
The squeaky mouse gets the cheese?
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. You put
the grease. And then the squeaky mouse gets the cheese?
No, there's no mouse.
No, there is.
That's the thing.
No, there's a squeaky mouse gets the cheese.
You made that up. Chat, please help me out.
I didn't. The squeaky mouse gets the cheese, but there is a squeaky wheel gets the grease. Yeah. Anyways, in the snow blizzard game, yeah, he wasn't used at all, but he said he said he was open. He said he wasn't happy with his usage and his route. So I do expect them to make him happy this week. It's at 53.5. I would even be willing to like do the additional yardage that you can do, like 60 plus. The game prior to last week, he had 82, 57, 128, 92. Like, he is great when he gets the targets. It's just he got one reception last week. So I think he easily hits that 53.5. And again, like, you can do the extra yardage. I'll try to find where he'd be. But I do think that he gets at least 70 yards in this game.
John Williams says squeaky mouse gets the cheese is my new favorite saying ever, Michelle. That's not a thing. Like, people don't have this problem of mice squeaking everywhere. And you're like, oh, just give them some cheese to shut them up. That's not a thing.
Anyways, you could do George Kittle 74 plus yards at plus 175.
Okay. I actually, if you,
there's something with a mouse and cheese.
If anybody knows it, please fill me in, because I don't think I know that one. If you are confident in the 49ers, I did notice you can parlay George Kittle anytime touchdown with a 49ers win, and that's plus 236. Kittle's been their best red zone target all year long. So if you're confident in the Niners, that is one that makes sense. And again, plus 236 is a nice number. I'm not going to have that as one of my best bets. I'm just letting you know what's there. That's all. That's all we do here.
So if you type into Google, the squeaky mouse, first one of the top things says gets the cheese as a recommendation, but you hit it and it says the squeaky mouse gets the cheese is a saying that means the person who complains or speaks up the most about their needs is most likely to get what they want. That's a thing. It's a saying. Told you.
The squeaky mouse gets the cheese.
Yeah.
Not the squeaky wheel gets the cheese.
Well, yeah, that was stupid. But
because of course wheels can't eat.
But type it in, the squeaky mouse gets the cheese is a saying.
All right. If Google's never wrong, right? We can't question Google. God knows that the overlords are listening or watching, so I'm not questioning Google. That's for sure. Okay, I do have a couple other ones. Let me see which one I want to go with next. I will go Caleb Williams anytime touchdown. It's plus 260.
I like that.
You may be picking up on a theme from me that I seem to take the opposing quarterback with the anytime touchdown. I was giddy on Sunday because I knew the game was already, out of hand when Josh Allen ended up getting that touchdown, because that was one of my best bets. And he got a passing touchdown and a receiving touchdown without getting a single receiving yard, which is always weird. But I was right on that. Same thing kind of applies to Caleb Williams. I think that the 49ers pass rush without Nick Bosa And right now, it doesn't look like he's going to play. He and Trent have not practiced all week. Kyle didn't rule it out, but I don't think he's going to play. Without him, the pass rush is only good enough to get Caleb Williams to move off his spot. And I think once he does, Caleb Williams is going to go, holy crap, there's a lot of room out here. And I think he's going to be able to run, particularly in the red zone, especially if, Michelle, some of the guys you mentioned are injured for Chicago and not there, and he doesn't have his weapons on offense. He may take it upon himself more to make something happen. So I'll go Caleb Williams anytime touchdown again, plus 260.
Why I really like that is because Roschon Johnson is their best goal line back. And he would have definitely been one of my best bets to score a touchdown this week. But like I said, he's in concussion protocol. Doesn't look like he's going to play. So Caleb Williams could definitely steal a rushing touchdown around the goal line. I really love that bet by you. I'm with you. I want that to be one of my best bets too. But,
so now I'm doing the work and you're just piling on.
Yeah. But I'm going to take a rushing bet from our boy, Brock Purdy. So two rushing bets here, because anytime touchdown, really, you need a rushing touchdown, unless you're Josh Allen, who can score the receiving touchdown on the most ridiculous play. But we got 17 rushing yards we need from Brock Purdy. I know he's dealing with a shoulder injury, so maybe he runs less, but I really don't think we got to see how his shoulder really is in last week's game. He only had 4 rushing yards, but snowy conditions, it was hard to get your footing. It was just a disaster of a game. But prior to that, 40 rushing yards, 17, 56, 27, 19, 33. So he was hitting that 17 in every game. I still think he can get 17 rushing yards this week.
Yeah, the question is, if his shoulder is banged up, is he a little hesitant to run? You couldn't really tell last week. It's hard to draw any conclusions because it was a friggin' blizzard. So I don't like not having that extra data point to go off of, especially with, maybe some questionable arm issues. Brock Purdy didn't speak to the media yesterday. It was his scheduled day. In fact, it was so expected that the Niners tweeted out, Nick Sorensen, Chris Forrester, and Brock Purdy speak to the media. So they thought he was going to do it. He did not. Now, I don't know for sure that means he's injured. There could be a variety of things that could have happened to cause him to not speak to the media. But I do know that when guys are hurt, they don't talk to the media. When Brandon Allen started, Brock didn't make his normal media appearance that week. And then Brandon Allen spoke the next day. Brock is scheduled to speak today for what it's worth. So we'll have to wait and see. But that was something that surprised me. And no 49ers member of the beat even mentioned it. And I went back and looked. It's possible I could have missed it, but I went back and looked. I couldn't find a single member of the 49ers press corps that said, hey, Brock Purdy was supposed to talk today and didn't. I don't know, kind of important. He's a starting quarterback. Just, took me by surprise is all. I feel like I was the one pointing this out to people.
And the last time he didn't talk to media on a Thursday, he did not play that week. Right. So that is very, very concerning. And you got me all worried about it. So then I was like, I don't know what to do for my best bets. Cause everything changes if Purdy's not out there. Right. But I guess the Kittle and the Grundos should still hold up no matter who the quarterback is. Right. My dominoes is here. So my dogs are going to start barking. So you talk.
Oh, there we go. I hear the dominoes. I was going to say something about, I asked Kyle on Monday on the conference call, is everything cool with Brock? Is he going to be limited in any way? And he said, no, everything's good with Brock. He said, in fact, Brock didn't even come in Monday for rehab. So he's totally fine. Now, if he was throwing in practice and all of a sudden the shoulder acted up, that could easily be a thing that happened. But let's just say I'll feel a lot better if Brock Purdy speaks to the media today.
Yes, if he speaks to the media and he says he's good, we got to take him for his word, right? And I know players lie a lot about their injuries, but if he comes out and says, I'm not worried about my shoulder, then he can't use that as an excuse then if he has a bad game, right? If you can't say it's healthy and you go out there and you're not letting someone else play, right? You're saying, I'm by far your best option right now. I'm healthy. I'm good to go. Then you can't make mistakes. You can't have high throws. You got to play a good game. It's going to be good weather. And after the game, if you have a bad game, I don't want to hear about the shoulder. I don't want you to take off next week. Don't be like, oh yeah, my shoulder did hurt. No, you're saying it's good. It's good. And now maybe he comes out today and says it's banged up. Who knows? But I guess
Brock,
we'll wait.
He's trying to sell everybody that it's fine. He's sticking to that. So we'll see if he says anything different today. Now we're getting all mouse themed expressions in the chat. Gary Frecking says the second mouse gets the cheese. LOL. Try typing the squeaky mimosa. Yeah. What happens if you type the squeaky mimosa into Google? Does it get you some sort of mimosa related idiom or something? I don't even know. But okay. Where do we leave off on best bets? I'm going to let you stay muted, so I'll throw another one out there. I don't know the number, but Caleb Williams rushing yards. I would take the over on whatever it is because I don't think it's going to be something crazy like 50. I think it's going to be lower, closer towards the Brock range. And for all the same reasons I said to take the anytime touchdown for Caleb Williams, take the rushing total. There's going to be a play. Let's be honest. It'll probably be a third down. It'll probably be a third and long because the 49ers love to put themselves in third and long and then give up the first down anyway. I could see Caleb Williams getting out the gate, busting off like a 20, 25-yard run. Sometimes that's all you need to hit these over. Again, I don't think there was a specific number when I looked, but I would take the over when it does pop up. Eventually it will. And I would go Caleb Williams over rushing yards.
How do the 49ers fix their run defense? Because I'm sick of seeing them get run over.
I know exactly how to fix it. Better players. That's the answer. It's not a like a deep mystery. The guys they have are not that good.
But like the Lions have had so many injuries to their front seven this year, especially lately, and they still were able. Like, I know Josh Jacobs scored 3 touchdowns, but overall, they were able to shut him down for the most part with just 66 yards.
Except for the 3 touchdowns.
Except for the 3 touchdowns. But right around the goal line, whatever. But, like, overall, I just feel like these players are getting chunks and chunks of yards. That's just not what we're used to seeing from the 49ers. I don't think you could just say, like, oh, because our starters are hurt. It's like, come on. Like, the scheme is something's not right. Right? Like get the guys into better spots to make these plays.
Well, I do think something is wrong with the scheme. I know that John Chapman did a film breakdown and he was furious because there was at least one play, I think multiple plays, where the Bills had an extra offensive lineman on the field and the Niners were in nickel, which is like, great. So now you got the extra offensive lineman that only has to block a defensive back. That's a mismatch for the offense. Like that is something that can't happen. Now, again, I don't know how many times that happened. I just saw the one clip from John Chapman. I didn't watch the whole video, but that's, I'm sure, is part of it. Communication issues with the defense absolutely has to be part of it. But the Lions roster is better than the 49ers roster. The 49ers roster looks like a blow pop right now. It's very fat at the top, but there's very little at the bottom. When you pay as many stars as they have paid, the bottom of the roster suffers. And then, frankly, the Niners' last 2 drafts before this season stunk. So their only opportunity to get good, cheap, young players, they whiffed on. And so what happens is the bottom of the roster stinks. And when guys get hurt and those bottom of the roster players have to get in there, you can't hold up. And I think that's what's happening to the 49ers.
I mean, it definitely is. And we talked about this prior to the season. We're worried about the depth at so many different positions. And with these injuries that we're now seeing, this depth have to be on the field. And it's just how they built their roster, right? And whenever a great player is up for a contract, it's not just the team paying them. We're all screaming, pay them, right? Like we also want them to get paid. So if you're going to pay these great players because they are great players and they deserve to get paid, then you can't have it all, right? It's really hard to have it all balanced out, but you need your great players to play great. And even when these guys have been healthy and on the field, they're besides George Kittle, they're really not playing up to their contract.
Unfortunately for all of us, as we have watched week after week, this painful season, the season from hell. Like I said, that 49ers assistant coach told Mike Silver, this is the season from hell. I think it's accurate. And we still, unfortunately, got a lot of games to go. And at least you want to see them play better, look crisper, have the operation look better. We'll see if they do. Really quick, what did you make of Dan Campbell's decision on Thursday Night Football? 4th and inches. You're in field goal range. The score is tied. There's about 30 seconds left. The Packers have no timeout. Detroit went for it. They got the first down. They ran it all the way down and kicked the game winner. What did you think of it?
It was beyond stupid. And no, he's not going to get any heat for it because they got it. But if he didn't get it, like, oh my goodness, he would have gotten so much heat. It was stupid. Even though they got it, I get it. You get to close out the game. You don't let him get the ball back and try to, tie up the game. It worked. So no one's going to be upset. But it was extremely risky, and I don't think I wouldn't want my coach to do that.
Oh, see, I agree that it's risky. I loved it, and I wish that Kyle would do the same thing, because what Dan Campbell said, and what I think is obvious to everybody, is my defense is shredded. We've given up 31 points. There's no guarantee we can stop the Packers, even if we kick the field goal now. Maybe we could. I like to think that we can, but we don't know. The chances of us gaining an inch are better than our chances of making the field goal, kicking off, and stopping the Packers from scoring. So we're going for the inch. I'm going to put the game in the hands of my better unit, my less banged up unit, my great offensive coordinator, and we're going to go take the game instead of kicking a field goal and sitting and hoping that Green Bay doesn't hurt us when they get the ball back. I loved it from Dan Campbell, and I wish Kyle Shanahan would think exactly the same way.
I do think that they really benefited because I don't think anyone actually thought they were going to hike that ball. Like, I think everyone just thought like they're trying to get him off sides. And so I really, like, even Matt LaFleur looked like dumbfounded that they actually went for it. And so I do think that shocked the defense. They're very much trying not to just go off sides, right? So playing, more, you're not ready to go right away. So I do think that helped them. And you're right. I mean, that is their better side of the ball. And they've been so good at running the ball. So in that situation, I guess it does make sense. I would be way too nervous to do it. I would be way too nervous if that was my team and they're doing it. But I guess I do understand this point. But if that didn't work out, he'd be getting so much heat.
During the stop, I think somebody called a timeout before that play. And I noticed that Goff was staying on the field and he's warming up with somebody on the field. And I'm like, they're not taking the offense off the field. I thought he was just going to fake the snap like you did. But like when I saw Goff out there, I'm like, he's not running out the field goal unit right away. Crazy ending. Good for him. Obviously, it worked out for Detroit. They seemingly can't lose right now. So enjoy that, Lions fans. We all remember what that was like on an 11-game win streak. We can remember that. I'm old enough to remember the Niners being on an 11-game win streak. Cynthia says, since training camp, the mentality of this team has seemed off, plus the lack of depth is alarming. No notes, Cynthia. You are 1,000% correct.
Yep. That's, right. No notes.
Before we go, quickly recap your best bets.
Oh, man. Well, I didn't write them down this time. So what did I say? Brock Purdy over 17 rushing yards.
You're taking Niners under 23.5 because I took that and you glommed on.
No, I didn't glom onto that.
Which one did you glom onto? The Purdy interception?
The Caleb Williams touchdown.
Oh, all right. I knew it was I thought it was multiple at this point.
No, I took the George Kittle over. I think it was 53.5 or 56.5 receiving yards. I took Isaac Orendo, whatever he ends up being, over his rushing yards. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
I think I've seen it other places, like 65, 67, something like that. Be interesting.
I don't remember if I said any others.
Well, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy to throw at least one interception. The Niners under 23.5 points. What was the other one? Caleb Williams rushing yards, whatever the total ends up being, because it's not out yet. And Caleb Williams anytime touchdown, which is plus 260. And also, before we go, I want to give a special thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you want to sign up for BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. Want to mention that again. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments. I will pick the winners after the show because we're running out of time here, so I don't want to rush it and do it during the show. I promise you, if you left a comment, I will go through. Make sure you're subscribed to follow Homage on X. Just follow them at HOMAGE. If I see that and then you left a comment, I will pick it out. We're going to give away a couple t-shirts. We're going to give away a hoodie. And we're going to give a t-shirt and hoodie bundle also. So those prizes will be rewarded. Yeah, thank you to Homage for hooking us up. If you want to get your own Homage gear, you don't want to wait on me, or you want to buy some holiday gifts, there's a link in the description of this episode. Just click our link so we get credit for it, please. Click the link in the description and it'll take you right to the 49ers page. There's a ton of awesome stuff. There's also non-49er stuff like pop culture stuff, TV shows, movies. Homage has everything. I got my Homage shirt on right now. Ninja Turtles, San Francisco 49ers. Michelle's got the Niners sweatshirt on. We are big fans. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you join us after the game Sunday for the Instant Reaction Show. Levin's actually going to be at this one, which is always nice and easier on me. Michelle, what do you got going on for plans this weekend?
Oh, man. I don't really know. Nothing. I don't think.
Nothing? You're always doing something.
Like tomorrow I'll go out. Yeah, I'll hang out with some friends, but nothing crazy.
I'm getting the tree this weekend. Ooh, very excited.
Maybe we will too.
I go to Home Depot to get my tree. Everybody always brags on me for it.
Oh my goodness. We go to Home Depot to get our tree.
Yeah, it's the best thing ever. You go, you pick it out. They cut the bottom off for you. They put the net, wrap it up, put it right on your car, and you're back to your real life.
I've never met someone else that goes to Home Depot to get their tree.
Yep. I'm telling you, if you haven't done it, for the Christmas tree farm, you go cut your own. Do I look like somebody that's going to be chopping down trees?
I'm never doing that. I want it to be fast.
That's right.
It needs to be a fast process. Get it into the house, get it decorated. Let's go. Like,
I'm going to be 40 in January. I'm too old to be cutting down Christmas trees. All right.
I've never cut down a Christmas tree in my life, actually.
There we go. I'm glad we're on the same page. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Go Niners, and we'll see you after the game.
Bye, y'all.